Hello everybody, this is Danny from Deep South Homestead. This is our porch time today. We have successfully made it back from the Great Appalachian Homesteading Conference. I have to pronounce that right for Patero. We had a real good time up there. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that because Wanda and I have a video coming up about that. We're going to be putting that out this week, hopefully. And like I said, porch time. I didn't want to just spend porch time talking about that. And I may allude to it occasionally, but it's not predominantly not about that. There was something that happened at the conference that I noticed. I probably had more than 300 people that actually made this comment to me. It was more than 300, I know. Because when I finally realized that this was being said to me, I kind of started paying attention to it because it just seemed like it was happening so often. And that was, and it's the question, they all think I'm crazy. And I think that's probably a common scenario that we all go through when we get on this particular journey, is that they all think I'm crazy. And, oh, that's better. Y'all, there's going to be a little bit of a glitch in it here because I just realized my camera was sitting crooked. But, yeah, they all think I'm crazy. I know I had over 300 people say that to me, and the different comments that I got, as to why people felt that way. And it is a different lifestyle. I mean, you have to understand, in this country, we've been raised from kids to think a certain way. Now, our forefathers did not think the way we thought. Our grandparents did not think the way we think today. Some of our parents were raised not to think the way we think today. I certainly was not raised to think the way that we think today, no older than I am. And it's sad, because to try to get someone to change that mentality is extremely difficult, because our society has bred it into you. Now, and I completely get what you're saying, because it's been said to me so many times. I mean, I was raising Irish potatoes I was in central Mississippi when I lived up there raising Irish potatoes and in my garden, basically. But the Irish potatoes was one of the things that just stood out to me. How people would tell me, why are you doing that? And I told them, I said, because I love my Irish potatoes. They go, but you can go to the store, they're only like $1.50 for a 5-pound bag, and you're out there and busting your tail planting these potatoes. It's so cheap to go buy them. And it just blew me away. I told them, I said, because I don't want store-bought potatoes. I just don't want them. I know what goes into raising them, and I don't want them. And they just couldn't grasp the concept. And so all y'all that made these comments at the conference to me, I completely get what you're saying. But now, some you can convert. Some can convert, and it's possible because I converted. People I know that know me, I've been able to talk to them enough that they've converted over to thinking the way we think now. They've wanting to live the homesteading lifestyle. They finally starting to get it, that the food that we eat is poison. The whole time Wanda and I was gone on this trip, the stuff we had to eat from different places, Wanda and I would just look at each other and go, they call this food? Because it was bland, it had no taste to it. You had to add something to it from all different ways to make it even taste like food. And it's no wonder that the people who don't get it don't understand, because they don't really know what real food tastes like. And it just amazed me, because when I would eat something, I would just put it back down and I would go, wow, that's a weird taste for this, you know, because you like green beans. I got some green beans one time. Tasted nothing like a homegrown green bean. It had like a metallic taste to it, you know, and I was like, wow. And people think, no wonder so many people don't like them, because they don't even taste like they're supposed to taste. I got eggs several mornings, because eggs is one of my things for protein in the morning that I have to have. I usually eat anywhere between 4 and 5 farm-raised or fresh eggs every morning, and I'll scramble them like y'all seen in some of the videos. That we make omelets, we make, you know, it's an array of different ways we cook the eggs. Well, you know, some of these places I would order eggs for breakfast, and I would get them, and I just look at one and I was going, this is not even an egg. This is some kind of powder or something other that's been mixed up to make an egg. I said, it doesn't have a taste. It doesn't even resemble the taste of an egg. And I guess to y'all that made all these comments to us, I guess if I had to just draw it down to what's going on, that we've been bred in this country not to know what real food tastes like, but what we think food should taste like. And I was just blown away. I'll have to admit. You know, this is mine and Wanda's first time to be that far away from home since we've been married. Now me, I've traveled all up now. I've traveled the whole country, you know, hunting, working, doing whatever, just traveling sometimes. And I didn't realize just how bad it had gotten, food-wise. You know, I understand y'all. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is I understand you. You know, and even in the live panel that I sat on during the conference, I think there was a question asked. You know, this young lady asked, you know, she was raised in the country and she moved to the city. Her husband lived in the city now, and they live in the city, and she's a country girl in a city environment. Very uncomfortable, I guess, but again, the impression I got from her facial expressions, reading things the way I read people, I got that she wasn't happy about where she was at, but she really didn't have a choice, and she was kind of wanting to know, how do y'all do this? And I would have loved to have said something on that panel, but the problem was I can't relate to that, because I'm not going to do it. You know, I was building one of my homes one time, and I moved into the edge of town I rented a little house till I could get my home built I think we was there for like 6 months, long enough for me to build a house. And I finally, at the end of 6 months, my house wasn't even finished, and I just told my wife, I said, forget this, we're not doing this no more. I don't know how these people do this. And I just packed up all my stuff, and I went to the house that I was building. It had nothing but studs and styrofoam on the outside of it, and I had plumbed it and wired it. And I had just gotten the styrofoam boarding around the outside of it. I had one window and one door in it and a roof on it. It was dried in the middle of February. It was 29 degrees, no heat. I piled my family into that house, and I told them, I said, we're going to make the best of it right here. I said, I couldn't do it. You know, I told the guy, I said, I had a 6-month agreement with you, and it's up, and I ain't coming back. And I get where this lady was coming from. And I know there's a lot of people that live in these types of suburban areas and everything, and you know, and if that's what you have to do, I don't have a problem with that. If you can do it, hands up to you. You know, I can't do it. I've never lived in town. I don't have a desire to. But there's lots of people that do, and they're very successful at it. And I can't say anything to those people, because if that's something you can do and you can make it work, God has a place for everybody. It's just that it's not my place, you know. And not to say that one day I won't have to, because there may come a time when I have to, and I'll have to just suck it up and do it. But I felt for that lady as she was making those comments, because I could see the hurt in her, and I wanted so bad to be able to say something that would make it better, but there was nothing I could say, because I knew what she was really trying to say was, they all think I'm crazy and they just don't get it. And now I'm stuck here. You know, and that that happens a lot of times. I mean, more than you would know. Sometimes people move into town for health reasons. Some people have to move into town for jobs. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why we make the decisions in life that we make. And does it make them wrong? No, it doesn't make them wrong. It just means that we have to adapt to our environment and make the best of it. Some people live in apartments because that's all the money they have, and I understand that. But I spent, before me and Wanda got married, after my wife passed away, I spent 2 years with no job, no money. Cancer had bankrupted me, and as a matter of fact, there was one point in time here I was at the house for 2 months. I never left it because I didn't have any gas money. I had food and I had everything I needed here to survive. That's one reason that I guess it didn't bother me. But I understand this thing that y'all were talking about there to me. I understand these comments you were making to me. And, to say, is there any real answer to this? I don't know if there's any one answer for it. Other than the simple fact is, the generation before us, and I may get some flack for this, I don't know, but the generation before us dropped the ball. Progress bred this. Progress bred a more comfortable lifestyle. Because you don't know how many times I've heard my parents say to me, I don't want my kids to have to grow up the way I had to grow up. And looking back, I would ask them now, if they were where I could, what was so wrong with the way you turned out? Did it not build character in you? Did it not give you wisdom and knowledge in areas that you would have otherwise not had it? Those are some things that I look at now. And, my kids, for instance, my kids are in the cities. They went that route. Does it mean that we were failures because of that? No. It's a path that they've chosen for themselves. And if they can live that lifestyle, then that's okay. It's just that we know that if a life-changing event happens and you can't get out, you won't make it. And that's hard to say, knowing I have 2 girls in the city. And me sitting out here with, I'd maybe have enough to eat for everybody, and, knowing that they didn't make it. That's tough. That'll be tough to have to deal with if it ever happens. Now, am I trying to say it's going to happen? No. My desire in life is to see everything go on and be really nice and not have a problem. And the economy, you level out and do well. And us all just grow up the way our parents did, have a great lifestyle. The problem with that is that reality? And the answer to that is no. That's not reality. Because every generation has to face its obstacles. There's been generations that came before us that had to deal with smallpox. There's been generations that came before us that had to deal with tuberculosis, polio, the world wars, depression. All of these things, generations that came before us have had to weather these things. The Civil War, our ancestors, and does technology make us immune to this? And the answer is no. What technology has done, it has made us soft. it's made us weak. And it's made us where we think we can do something, and the reality of it is, no, we can't. You know, and even at the conference and talking to people, they're like, man, I don't know how you do it where you live at down there. Y'all got like, what's the humidity like, 75%? You know, and I go, on a good day, it might be 75%. And they're like, how do you do that? Because where we're at, if it gets to be 75%, we just got to go inside. We can't take it. You know, the temperature could get up to 75 degrees with 75% humidity. That's just unbearable. And, you know, it's all about what you're acclimated to. It's where God puts you at. You know, if God puts you there and that's all you can stand, then that's okay. But, you know, here it can get to be 110, 115 with 100% relative humidity on a perfectly sunny day. You know, and yet we still go on. You know, it's tough. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. Yeah, it's tough. But we've become soft because of it. Now, let me back up and reiterate something. That'd be like me here in the wintertime. It gets down to occasionally, like this past winter, it was down to 15 degrees with a wind chill, you know, in the single digits for a few days. And, you know, to take me out of this environment, which is normally, our cold is around in the 20s. You know, that's what we call cold here, is in the 20s. And put me somewhere up north, like upper state Michigan or Minnesota or somewhere up in there, Maine, you know, we're at Idaho, where Dirt Patch Heaven and them's from, where it stays, you know, below zero. And I mean, I've hunted in those things when I was younger, and I've worked in them, but to just actually live in them now that I'm older, you know, I wouldn't make it. I mean, I might as well be honest. It's not where God put me. God put me here. This is where He wants me. And He's given me the ability to endure. So, you know, we have to realize those things, and when we start thinking about, why do they think I'm crazy? Don't let it affect you. Don't let it bother you. Because it's not you who are crazy. It's the other massive group that's the crazy ones. Because if a life-changing event takes place, whether it be a tornado or a hurricane or a flood or drought or whatever, food shortages, when those things happen, take a look around you and look at the people who just seem to carry on. It doesn't seem like it affected them that bad. Those are the people who get it. You know, I've seen people after tornadoes who actually lose their whole house to a tornado. And they're helping somebody else. That's because they get it. You know? And I have to marvel at these kind of people. It was that way here after Hurricane Katrina. People were helping people in Mississippi everywhere here. Now, you had those that were thieves that wanted to loot and stuff like that. You're going to always have that. But predominantly, the majority of the people were just good people, you know? I had one gentleman told me, I asked him, I said, sir, how did you stand the heat? Because after Katrina, there was no electricity, and it was in the hundreds. Just scorching hot. And to show you the creativity of some people, he told me, he said, I went to a junkyard right next to me there. He said, and I went into the cars that was just sitting out there growing up in weeds. He says, and I took the blower motors out of the air conditioning systems under the dash, and I brought them to my house, and I put one in the window of each one of our bedrooms, And I rigged me up a system where I had a 12-volt battery running to them because they were DC motors running an automobile. And I took a solar panel to charge the little battery, to charge the car battery with. He said, and all day, that solar panel, the motors ran off the solar panel during the day, and at night they ran off the car battery till it ran down. And in other words, they stayed cool most of the night with wind blowing on them. Now, is that not creativity? You know, I mean, you could tell this person had common sense and was willing to use what he could find to survive. It's those people who look at you like you're a nut. Those are the ones that'll be knocking on your door when something happens. It's at that point they'll realize, oh, I was the one that didn't have any sense. And you know, it's so don't let this stuff bother you. And I wouldn't even be talking about this on Porch Time if it hadn't been brought up so many times, because I was asked, how do you deal with this? Yeah, I was the black sheep of my family. I'll go ahead and say it. Because I was the one who did not follow the norm. You know. So, don't let people push you back into a corner just because you don't look at life the way they look at it. The bottom line is, we all have to choose our own path in this life. And whichever one you choose for you is the one that you have to learn to live with. And it doesn't mean that it's wrong. And when somebody looks at you and tells you, oh, you're going to start homesteading, are you a nut? Have you lost your marbles? Go get a real job. I've heard that probably 10,000 times, you know. And I'll tell them there is no realer, if realer is not a word, but there is no more real job than the job of homesteading. Because homesteading is not a 9-to-5 job. It's a 24-hour job. And, or I don't know if I should have said homesteading. Maybe I should say surviving off of your property is a 24-hour job. You know, and most people don't get that because they've been taught that they need to go to a grocery store, and that going to a grocery store is the only safe food that there is. Because you see, that's another one of the lies that's been pitched to us. They said, oh, you better be careful eating those farm eggs. Now, they may have salmonella. Well, they forgot to tell you that salmonella is in everything you eat, just about. All your meats and your eggs, your dairy, I mean, it's in everything. Oh, you don't need to eat that, you don't need to raise your own meat out there now because it's too dangerous. That stuff might become contaminated. If you ever seen some of these factories where they do this kind of stuff, you'd wonder about, who's got the contaminated food. And so, I mean, that's just one of the things that I've just run across is why people think we're so crazy for doing what we do. It's not that we're crazy. It's a calling. So, it's one of those things that let's just all try to understand that not everybody's going to think like we think. It's just not going to happen. The system that we have set up for survival in this country now is different, and there are those of us that get it for our health. Now, does that mean we're not going to have any health problems just because we eat right? No, we're still going to have some health problems because the body digresses the older we get. I have real good friends that ate the best food in the world, the most organic food they could eat. They were healthy, they exercised every day, and died of cancer at a young age. Sometimes it's just in the genes, you can't, there's some things that just happens we have no control over. It's just our time, and we have to understand that. I could have cancer right now and don't even know it. And so, it's one of those things that let's try to work with one another. Let's try to get along with each other. You know, that's one thing I can say about this conference that I went to. Out of the 1,000 people that I spoke to there in that room that day, I did not get any negativity at all. You know, we all sat and talked about there was some 200 and something kids there. And I'm guessing that most of them were homeschooled, you know, but I know there were probably some that weren't. Not one kid was out of line. Now, you know what? That blew me away. There were kids everywhere. As a matter of fact, my booth was set up right next to they had to walk right past my table to go into the room where the kids' play area was at. And I thought to myself, I said, Lord have mercy, I'm going to be right here with all these kids, you know. But let me tell you something. Parents that had your kids there, I want to applaud you. I saw no kids out of hand. Not one kid. When I stood up to give my speech, I looked out there and seen all those kids everywhere. I was like, boy, this is going to be a time. But you know what? Not one kid cut up. Hands up to you parents for doing your job of being a good parent. That gave me hope right there that we have a generation of kids coming up just being raised on homesteads that actually get what life is about. So many people brought their kids by to me and they told me, said, this is my child. They watch your channel. They just love what you're doing. They have their own garden. They're doing this. They're doing that. They have this animal. They have that animal. And talk about a blessing. Wanda and I went to the conference to bless y'all. In return, we're the ones who got blessed. We were just blown away. I mean, literally blown away by great people. Godly people. And but y'all were the group that came to me and told me they just think I'm crazy. Talking about the people you work with, your family, your neighbors, you know. And look, I get that because I've been told the same thing my whole entire life. Danny, you're just off the wall. Why do you live the way you live? I live the way I live because I want to be free. I don't want to have to get up every morning and go back to a 9-to-5 job. Now, I did that. I did it for some 40-something years, or 30-something years. And I did my time, you know. I would not be where I am today if I had not done it. So I'm not telling you quit your job because you've got to have money to do anything. A homestead has got to have infrastructure set up. Infrastructure is not cheap. It's expensive. So spend your money wisely on your homestead. Get out of debt. And go home and enjoy your lifestyle. Enjoy yourself. That's what Wanda and I do. We enjoy ourselves. Now, does it work? Yes, it's work, but it's gratifying work. People told me, even at the conference, people made the comment. They said, you know, I don't know how y'all do what you do every day. I don't know how you hold out there doing what you do. My simple answer was, if it's all you've got to eat, you'll learn to hold out. You'll figure a way out to do it. It's like me sitting here right now. Wanda and I this morning, we was up at daylight when we could just barely see the plants. I was picking green beans. She was picking English peas. And when I finished, I went and helped her finish picking English peas. And sitting right here in front of me right now. I mean, there's a bucket right here. This got the ends I snapped off the green bean. There's one of several buckets of hull sitting here from the English peas. That's what we spend our morning doing. And while I'm sitting here doing porch time, taking a break, that canner's going in there, and there's just jar after jar of food being canned. Because even though I come back from the conference yesterday, and I dug potatoes yesterday evening when I got home, even though I was wore slam out, my homestead, I've been gone for 4 days from here. There's some things that are unacceptable to me now. My yard's all growed up with grass and weeds and stuff around. There will be a video coming up about that, about what's unacceptable here at Deep South. I mean, that's unacceptable to us. Now, if a life-changing event took place and we had no choice, that would be different. But that hasn't happened, and right now there's the resources and everything here to keep this place clean and looking nice, and so it's unacceptable at this time. You know, a lot of these weeds got to go to feed animals, and when we've been gone, the weeds just took over. So we've got to get it back to where it needs to be at. And that's one of the things about leaving a homestead. You've got to be careful about what you do when you can't just up and run off because you want to. Homesteading is a lifestyle change. There was so many of you guys out there who said, oh, I would have loved to come to the conference, but I couldn't leave my homestead. And you know what? I get that, because the morning that me and Wanda left, we got up early that morning at daylight, and we went out and picked snap beans and canned 15 jars of snap beans before we ever got in a vehicle to come up to Crossville, Tennessee. Because we knew if we left them for 4 more days, they would not be any good when we got back, and we couldn't afford to lose those. So, becoming a full-fledged homesteader takes commitment. And those of you who made the comment to us, they think I'm crazy. Those are the people that don't have the commitment that it takes to be what you are. Because you, my friend, are the exception to the rule. You know, you're the one who actually gets it. You're the one who will make America great if America's ever great again. It's not the people who don't get it. It's those of us who do get it who will make this country great again if it's made great. So I'm going to probably stop there. Thank y'all for sitting down listening again. I thought maybe I might do this up at the conference, but I got to thinking I was asked to speak on sweet potatoes, so that's what I did. I almost sat down and did just what I did here today, had a porch time with you. But I gave Patera my word that I would talk on sweet potatoes, and she told me I could do it if I wanted to. She says, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. But there were those that came to hear about sweet potatoes, so I decided to do sweet potatoes. And thank y'all for your generosity while we were there. You were very kind. You were very well, I mean, just, you know, I don't know how to say it. I'm not good with emotional things, you know. But y'all were a blessing to us. And like I said, Wanda and I will have a video coming up on this pretty soon. And we may show you some clips from those of you who didn't get to go. We may show some clips in the video of the conference and what was going on. Some of the fun that was had. And for those of you who we got to see, it was a blessing. It felt a little funny, you know, having people grab you all the time, but we loved it. We really, really loved it, and thank y'all for that. So I'm going to end porch time here today and tell you I love y'all, and thank y'all for subscribing to us. Thank you for being a part of our family here at Deep South Homestead, and thank you for allowing us at the conference for being part of your families, because when we got to meet you, we actually understood some of the people who watched us, you know. And oh yeah, before I get off, I have a problem with what I'm fixing to say, It's a little bit difficult for me to do this, but those of y'all who are contacting me and telling me, Danny, there's a group of people out there that's copying what y'all did at the conference. They're trying to get a singing group together to show y'all what it's like to sing gospel music and all this kind of stuff, and y'all don't do that. Don't tell me that. Because those people who are doing this may want to honor the Lord. They may be out there to glorify God just like we were. And it's not right for you to send me messages and tell me that there's somebody out there trying to copy what we did at the conference. Because if those people are doing that to glorify God, you know what? I'm going to raise my hand with them. I'm going to praise the Lord right along beside them. And if they're doing it for some other alternative motive, for vengeance or something like that, God will deal with that. But please, out of respect for other people, don't do that. They're humans just like we are. We love everybody. I had to throw that in there. I didn't want to, but I felt like it might be necessary to let y'all know we love everybody. We don't harbor nothing against anybody, and we just want everybody to be in unity. And that's what Deep South Homestead is all about. It's about creating community. You know, if you can't do that and you can't get along with it, and you can't get along with others, go somewhere else. Don't drag me into something, you know, because I try to stay neutral and I try to be honest. That was one of the comments that was made with me at the convention conference. More than, I guess it probably the second most made comment to me, other than they think I'm crazy, is that Danny, thank you for your honesty. And thank you for just being real. You know? And that's what I want to be, y'all. I want to be honest. And I want to be real. I don't want to be a backbiter. I don't want to be a stabber, someone running around trying to stir up trouble. I don't even want to be involved in that. And if I think you're involved in that, I won't have anything to do with you. I'm just going to tell you right now. Because it's not who I am. And I don't want that kind of people on my channel. So, with that being said, I hate to leave in a dull note, you know, but I felt like I had to say that just to clarify some things. So, I'm gonna get off of here now because I got to get back to work. One thing, and it's already it's hot. It's just hot. I left Tennessee yesterday morning, 38 degrees. I got home, it was 87. So, wow. It really didn't, till just now, it really didn't hit me just how much of a degree it was. But, yeah. That's a lot. I know we got home, we were about to burn up because we had dressed for 38 degrees when we left Crossville, Tennessee. And then when we got home, like, I don't know, it was like 8 or 10 hours later, I looked at one and I said, oh my God, what happened? You know, but anyway, never mind that. I got to get off here and get back busy. But thank y'all, and we love you. Thank you from Deep South Homestead.